an extender on the camera.
That's just for the mic. Maybe I'll just go straight in. It's just one particular move. I'm just going to show you this one particular move. And that is that eventually you're going to be bringing a hand up and it's going to come up behind your neck, and you're just going to feel your spine basically and have a little fiddle there. And then this hand is going to come across and it's going to play with this. That's all it's going to be. And it's kind of, this arm is checking the freedom of this arm. It's also going to be saying, how is the weight going through there and how is the weight going through there? The theme for this week is contact with the ground. So the anchor points that you have with the floor, how they inform release across the system. And so we have done a lot of these moves before, but the emphasis will change the outcome of the way that you feel about the moves. So let's just dive straight in. That was the main thing. And Sarah, you could, I always wanted to use that.
James, can we turn off the work lights?
Yes, definitely. So once again, I'm going to say I'm going to use my hands. If you don't want any hands on, then just say sod off, James, or no thanks.
Should we start with or without blocks?
Oh yes, start with blocks. I was just in that position because it was expedient. Also, as far as contact with the floor, I'm going to remind you of the 4 contacts that Raymond Dart describes as the way that we interact with the planet. And the 4 ways are pressing, that is that the body comes into contact going towards the center of gravity. Spreading, that is that the body will spread across the floor. Rolling, so there is an element of rolling about all movement in contact with the floor. And brushing. So if it's slightly suspended, or if you, for instance, if you're going to turn your head to one side and you're going to rotate on the axis, then the back of the head will brush, and you can increase the amount of brush that is then in contact with the floor. And also, when we're flickering across the floor, then there is an element of brushing in that. And you can increase or decrease the amount of brushing according to tension. So in this position, first of all, I'm going to be acquainted with our contact with the floor. And so there are, according to Raymond Dart, in constructive rest in this position, there are 11, 12, or 13 points that are in contact with the floor here. Of course, there's many things in contact with the floor, but he's talking about principally bony contacts. So bring your mind to the occiput, the very back of the head, that's in contact with the block. And this is why we have a block rather than a cushion, is just so that you can definitely have the information that your head is in contact with something. And particularly when we are asking questions of our nervous system, the information that comes to that very solid part of the back of the head then allows all the musculature around the head to release. And this is going to be the theme of the day, of how the bony contact will allow all the systems around it to release and to function, to breathe and to find a natural position. And then there's the two bony points of the shoulder blades. And as a consequence of you releasing around the two bony points of the shoulder blades, you can imagine the triangle between the point on the back of your head and the points of the shoulder blades, and then see what you can allow to let go between those points as a result of them interacting with the floor. Yes. You sense that little sort of change. Great. And bringing to mind the idea that the in-breath will allow you to scan for tension, and the out-breath will allow you to release that tension. And then if you have your hands on your rib cage, just at the bottom of your rib cage, you can bring your mind to the bony parts of the elbows in contact with the floor. And just for the sake of it, have your hands resting on your rib cage so that on the out breath, your hands can encourage some release down into the rib cage. So it's like the sigh allows, oh, yes, exactly, beautiful. So you can begin to recognize the length between these points, the length between the elbow and the point of the shoulder blade and the point of the back of the head. You can also bring to mind the point between the elbow and the ends of your fingers. You really have a sensation of how long those points are. Yes. And so this is one of the advantages of the idea of spreading. That as you allow these points to expand across the floor, you begin to get the idea of lengthening across the entire system. And then there are the 1, 2, or 3 points of the pelvis in contact with the floor. So there may be a point on the sacrum. But you notice there may be a point couple of points either side of the sacrum. And you can let yourself luxuriously imagine that those points melting into the floor, spreading and expanding. And then those points then become a means of spreading as far as the length of the spine is concerned. So as you bring your mind to the 3 points at the top of the torso, the back of the head, shoulder blades, and there is the line of the spine, or the snake of the spine, snaking its way down to the 3 points of the pelvis, and those points are also spreading away from each other. And then there are the 3 points on each foot. The heel, and the 2 points either side of the front of the foot, spreading away from each other. So the points behind the pinky toe and the points behind the big toe. And have a mind for how the lower leg uses these anchor points as a means of support so that the knees come up towards the ceiling. This also applies the idea of the femur coming into the pelvis. And this allows the knees to be So now, as you're lying there, you're allowing your breath to come in and give you information about what is tense and what is not, what is suspended away from the planet and what is giving into the planet. You can bring your mind to how the contact points, and this can be any contact point you bring your mind to actually, could be your rib cage, could be your butt, could be any point, how any point can then be given permission to release as a result of, we'll say here, the pressing of the weight of the body into the floor through these anchor points. But sometimes today this could be excruciatingly slow. But if we use the ideas of rolling, pressing, brushing, and spreading as means of examination, then actually you can begin to do one of Alexander's, or some Alexandrian principles of inhibiting movement, so tracking movement before the moment you take the movement, and having direction. So when we begin to have a mind for how the movement takes place, what the quality of movement is, what the quality of the being of the person is who's making the movement. So, okay, we're on the next breath cycle. I'll let the fingers of one of the hands begin to come away from the rib cage and seek the ceiling. So this act, just this act, is an invitation to say, okay, how does the hand come away from the rib cage? What is it that changes, that allows this to happen? Do I begin to move my shoulder in order to do this? Do I have to move my shoulder? How can I take a moment to say, the finger growing up to the ceiling finds its anchor point in the elbow. Can I stack my fingers over the elbow so that there is little to no need for muscles to be switched on at all? What is the rolling that happens over the elbow in order for that hand to come up towards the ceiling? What is the outcome of this movement? What begins to get pulled away from the floor in order to have this movement take place? And yes, that's a great experiment. So yeah, what's it like to pull that arm away from the floor, just to feel what it's like to pull the arm away from the floor and then let it come back down. So that is a way of coming to understand what unnecessary tension you use there, actually. And then let your elbow come back down if you like, or if you're... Yes, do you see what happened all the way along down there? Yeah, that's so... You can let that hand come back to the chest and then begin the same experiment with the other hand. But if you're still experimenting with the other hand, then keep experimenting with that hand. See, I am motoring along because there's some kind of weird idea of an agenda. But really, um, the instigations of spreading, rolling, pressing, pressing, spreading, rolling, and brushing, they're all contained in these movements. Beautiful movements. Oh my gosh, that's so graceful. This is skill and poise. This is what Dart was talking about. Exactly. That there it is. Something in the nature of these movements and of these explorations that implies skill and poise. Just by arriving at consciousness, at awareness. And if things come tumbling into your mind, either because of the coming day, or because the movements remind you of something, or because relaxation and elongation remind you of something, then just allow those thoughts to come into mind and observe them like white clouds on a blue sky just drifting by. Or like a flock of birds on the seashore just going diggy 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 diggy. And luxuriate in the sensation of this limb, this amphibian thing, just having a construct, such a miraculous mind of its own. And then you can have both hands begin to extend up to the ceiling, just to let them, and have them wave and cycle round as if they're drawing circles on the ceiling. And as that happens, be conscious of the rolling action, the pressing action. So you're bringing your mind to the fabulous nature of this action being supported by the planet. Ah. So last week we were talking about the stacking of fingers, all the joints in the fingers above the elbows. And it is a fascinating prospect to see if you can feel the weight of the joints stacking down through the structure of the arm. You do all the things around it, letting go. Oh, we're secure. There is a security in it. Of course there is. Because your bones are the stones of the shore of your body. The rocks against which the fluid of the rest of you washes up against all the time. Now, you're going to allow one of the hands, the fingers, just go for a little wander behind the neck. You're just going to reach up, maybe over the back of your head, and then as if there's a zip line down the back behind your neck, you're just going to feel that. Yes. Exactly. And really have some fun feeling down the back of your neck. Your fingers are just finding a zipper on the back of your, yeah. And enjoy that feeling just for a moment. And if parts of your hand are in contact with the floor, just be aware of that. And then let the other hand drift up and then just seek the elbow of the other arm. And it can go in front of your face. Yeah, that's it. Great. And that arm that's found the elbow is just going to give a little a little reminder that that hand can be free. So it's saying, hey shoulder, you can be free, you're in contact with the floor. Yeah. It's a reminder of weight. And actually that can be a reminder of weight spelled W-E-I-G-H-T and W-A-I-T. So if you come across points which are resistant, just sit there with it for a minute and then say, hey arm, you can let go and it's okay. Yes, Sarah.
On our opposite foot or on the back of our neck?
So it's if you're zipping up the dress,
Okay.
you'd be somewhere in it. So actually, it's the bottom of the. Thank you for that great question. It's the bottom of the neck, the neck bones. It's C7 and T1 for those who like that kind of thing. But you know, Sarah, if you want to let that hand play with the bones in your neck, you just be familiarize yourself with that, and you can definitely do that. The idea is to find a way of releasing. And then let those come back down by the side and have another little swirl with both hands. On your elbows on the floor. Yeah, just return to the seaweed. And see how that feels. Thank you, Bo. Have a blessed day. And so then you're going to ask the other hand to come up towards the back of the neck. And then let the other hand, after you've had a little exploration back there, let the other hand come over and encourage freedom. And just to have a mind for how the contact changes your relationship with that arm, and how the contact informs the relationship with gravity. And it's an interesting thing to bring to mind the active arm. So there's one arm, inverted commas, doing something. Well, to some degree, how is the movement of the active arm informed by gravity? At any point, you can pause and say, where am I pulling up off the floor? Can I use the anchor points that are in contact with the floor to spread across the floor? And then let your hands come down by your sides. Yeah, and just see what the difference is. Now you've been fiddling around with the back of your neck and the shoulder structure and the arm structure. What do you notice that's different? Oh my goodness. It's so much fun to see how just simple explorations take so much freaking time. I have this huge list in my head of, oh, this is going to be great. And then, well, here, we're going to play this game. So you're going to bring your mind to the soles of your feet, your pelvis, and your knees. And we've talked about this position before, that if you turn a foot out, i.e., then that has a particular action on the way that the knee wants to go. So normally that invites it to go outwards. If you turn the foot inwards, then the knees want to go, yes, exactly. So here is the game on one leg. You're going to basically flipper the foot to inwards and outwards and inwards and outwards, so that the leg will pan out. But as you do it, when you flipper the toes outwards, you're going to take a pause and let the leg just play in the situation that it finds itself. So, for instance, if you flipper the right, yes, exactly, and you'll find that there is a rolling action on the outside, yes, and you'll feel a point where there's kind of like it gets creaky, and so take it off the creaky position and then see if you can just find the action of the weight of the foot into the floor and into the pelvis. So I'll try and come around and give you some pointers on that. So if you turn the foot inwards, then yeah, it's going to want that. And if it goes too far, it gets creaky. So come back a bit and then just feel that. Yeah. Yes, if you feel how it gets creaky in there, yeah, you just come back a little bit and then really enjoy Yeah. And so the creaky point you want to come away from is definitely, it is in fact a great indicator of what Dart is not. You know, when you get to that place, you go, no, and then come back a little bit, and then just go, oh, wow, exactly, yeah. And this can come down. Yeah. Wow. It's so nice just to feel that switching off. No. Oh. And then when you played around with one leg, then start to play around with the other leg. So this is definitely combining pressing, brushing, because the foot brushes across the floor in order to find a new position. Rolling, because as the leg rolls outwards, there is this point where the leg rolls the foot and rolls the pelvis a little, and also spreading. So as that happens, then there is a spreading of the pelvis. Yeah. 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 Hey. See, the dancer's body forgives you. Oh. If you messed around with both legs, then you get a twin shower. Then you can begin to creep your feet forward, and so they elongate. And in this position, you're just going to let your arms drift up over your head, because you're going to do some rolling over to one side. So as we're doing rolling here, it's going to lift your head with one hand and then remove the blocks with the other. And this is where we have before done this whole thing about rolling over to one side and rocking on one side, but we are going to take a deep dive into what happens as we roll. So I'm going to roll over to one side, and one of the things that will instigate the rolling over to one side is the looking one way. So as you look one way onto whichever arm you wish to roll onto, at any point during this process, pause to ask yourself what parts, what anchor points have been revealed to you now. So as you look one way, and as maybe your chest then follows, and your pelvis, then your feet, or as your rib cage then follows, or as your pelvis then your rib cage follows, experiment in mid-roll with what changes, what is in contact with the floor that allows the movement to occur. So if you can imagine you were in space, this actually would be quite a difficult movement. Because you're using the floor to continue that rolling over onto one side, then as you go, yeah, is it the legs that carry you over? And you could come back and then go, what's it like if it is the rib cage that does the instigation? So at the very beginning, talked about the points in contact with the floor as being the back of the head, two shoulder blades, the elbows, the pelvis, and the points of the balls of the feet. In this rolling over, as you are rolling that way, what are the new anchor points that appear that allow the body to release as a result of finding those new anchor points? Yeah, all really great explorations going on here. Fantastic. Yes. Yeah, yeah. So when you're on that side, just let yourself be there for a moment and scan through the new anchor points that you have on that side. Yeah. And I'm going to use my hands, if that's okay, just to give you an idea of what that points are. And you're going to, yes, allow those new anchor points to give you a sense of release. Like you're stacking fingers, only it's on the side. You have all those ribs that are all doing their thing, and you have your spine that's doing its thing. Yes. Ah. You have your shoulder girdle that's doing its thing. Yeah. Great. Yes. Don't forget to tell me to bugger off. If you don't need any hands on. Oh. And it really fantastic work here, beautiful movement. And just to have in mind the pelvic region, how complicated is that? Now you're finding the anchor points across the pelvis and the shoulder girdle. So you're going to just rock backwards and forwards on there with your free arm just for a moment. And then you're going to look the other way and begin to now have a care here, because just because you're rolling the other way doesn't mean that it's that it's the same. Because you're rolling the other way, if you just take a moment on your back to see what difference you feel between one side and the other. Fascinating thing about this rolling on the side and really paying attention to the anchor points is that you up the sensitivity of your nervous system as you do that. Yeah, give yourself a moment. And so now you're gonna have a little roll the other way. And I think you're just rolling, right? That's all you're doing is rolling on the floor. But the question is, what is the nature of how you roll? Is it that it's head led? What's it like if you just have the chest leading? What's it like if your back is like a bed air and is full of primary curve? What is it like if it arches the other way as you roll? The anchor points change accordingly. And as you roll, just have a mind for what the limbs are doing. So is it possible to lead with the limbs? Or is it possible just to lead with the core? What anchor points change as a result of leading with one or the other? So, for instance, here's a thought. If it is the spine, the center of you that is rolling, then what anchor points are then engaged in order to bring about the rolling? If it is, let's say, your pinky toe that decides to go first, what anchor points are then engaged as you make that movement? Really great breathing. It reminds me to say, what can I let go of as a result of this movement? So this idea of interrupting a movement to have a check as to what is being held on to. Yes. Yeah, exactly. You can say, all right, I can ask my body to release because the ground is present.
Unknown caller.
17074415000.
This is an interesting track, isn't it?
17074415000.
I'm having trouble deciphering.
001010000.
I like telling spam callers that I'm on my way.
Me too.
Meanwhile, so when you're on your side, you're just going to have a little rock on your side, and then you're going to continue to follow that rolling till you're face down in front. And the rolling onto the floor, yeah, you'll sense that that's a different thing again. So really the education, the idea of the education of what this particular dart lesson is that continually we are reorientating the anchor points with the planet. If you can imagine that you'll be vertical in, let's hope, in about 10 minutes, then you can take the same idea about your relationship with your feet on the floor, but also this idea of the support, the imagined support of the environment that's around you, so that you carry the support of the planet and the anchor points of your body in its environment with you at all times. And that way you can at any point say, how am I being supported by everything around me? Rather than being afflicted by everything around me. So just one more roll over to one side. So the reason we're going to roll back onto the side here is to see what the difference is between rolling onto the side from the back and rolling onto the side from the front. So see what instigates the rolling, yeah? And allow yourself to come back onto the front. Yeah. And this is a very ancient thing that you're doing right now. I mean, we ventured into amphibious movement last week. Well, this is very much venturing into amphibious movement, where the side of your body is becoming the instigator for the movement from one side to another. Okay, so now we're going to come directly onto the front and just be there for a moment. We're in prone. And have your hands just above your head, yes. You don't have your hands by your ears actually, because that can give you some support for the bridge of your nose. And see if you can allow your back to fill or spread between your shoulder blades. I'm just going to give you a little reminder of how that feels. And then just breathing gently to release. Particularly in your belly, the belly is in this position is really given permission to just go. And then you're going to bring your hands down, slide, or should I say, brush your hands down to under your armpits. Yeah, see if you can keep contact with your forehead on the floor as you press down, finding support for the floor, and you're going to keep your back filling your shoulder blades as you send your butt towards the other wall. So as if Your back is magnetized up. I'm gonna see if I know it's gonna sound impossible. It's gonna sound impossible. I promise you, it's possible. Yeah, just gonna fold here. Yeah. And see if you can keep your head on the floor. Yeah. Yeah. See, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. See, it's gonna send this whole thing back. Yeah. It's all right. You can do it. Yeah. See, it's weird. It's weird because you go, no, that's not. That's not. No way. You, as a baby, you did that all the time. Okay, so here's a fun thing. Yeah, see? Whee! It's actually fun. It's like you're on a water slide. Whee! Yes, yes. See? Yeah, okay. So now we're going to come into what is called pentapodal. A pentapodal is you're going to have the top of your head on the floor. Yeah, you're going to have your hands supporting that, so bring your hands by your ears. And this is where we can have some fun rolling. So there should be a good amount of weight on your legs, a moderate amount of weight on your arms, and then just a little bit of weight on the top of your head. And you can look under one armpit, and then roll and look under the other armpit. And then roll and just let your head roll, 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 roll. Really gentle. And also let the eyes do the adventuring. That's it. Just very gently bring your head down. And if it doesn't go too far, that's fine. That's it. And then you're going to look for the chair in front of you at the top of your head. So the eyes are coming up, the back is coming up, the top of your head. As if you have eyes in there. Yeah. And then you're going to take a little crawl towards the chair because you're going to come into vertical. And here's the fun thing about the crawl, is that as you take each step with your belly hands and your belly legs, you're going to feel that support of the planet through the structure. Yes, feel it. That's good. Ooh, yes, there you go. And then you're going to put your hands on the chair. And as your hands come up there, this is like the midway place between environments. So we begin to find an alternative environment for support. Yeah, and so the stacking begins. As the foot comes underneath, the foot then discovers the planet. And as the foot discovers the planet, and you know, we are racing through this, but if we were doing the same thing as we were going side to side, and we were saying the same thing about the foot, the knee, the pelvis, that you are seeking, yes. And then you can imagine, and someone said this to me last week, all the parts of your spine are like stacking the joints of your fingers. All the joints of your spine are stacking your fingers. Yeah. And here's a fun thing, just swing this around. Yeah. Yeah. This is cool. This is cool. This is cool. This is going up that way. Yeah. Do you remember when you were rolling your head around on the floor? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Nice. stacking that on top of, yes. Wow, yeah. Jeez, that's amazing. And I advise just taking a little, take a couple of steps. With this, you can take a couple of steps back, actually away from the chair, if you're already, yeah, really feel the stacking as you take those steps. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the same. You notice that with the steps you're taking, there's the pressing, there's the spreading, there's the rolling. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, beautiful. And there's the brushing. Yeah. Also, you can bring to mind the outturn and the inturn of the leg. Remember when you were lying there and you were playing with the outturn and the inturn of your leg when you're in constructive rest? Same thing goes here. There is a little place between the outturn and the inturn where the leg is very happy. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. That was fun.